Hi, this is David Wolinsky back with another interview from the audio archives of NoDon'tDie.com. This time I'm bringing to you the second half of my conversation with Tanya X, the creative director of Kitfox Games. We spoke on April 11th, 2015. If you'd like to read a full transcript of this conversation, you can check the link below down in the description. And also down there you'll see a link to my Patreon, where your support helps me continue with this project. Thanks.
So, what do you feel is lacking in games right now? Which is a really weird question to answer and ask, but, what are you sort of yearning to see more of?
In terms of, content and game design?
Anything. Anything in games. I mean, I guess we could be talking about diversity here, but, I'm also curious content as well.
Well, part of why I'm creating Moon Hunters the way I am is because I'm really interested in relationships and personalities. And, what are the components of a person and what makes them matter to other people. And I wish there were more games thinking about that. I was really fascinated by how much meaning... This is kind of segueing back into procedural generation.
No, you're fine.
Crusader Kings 2 is a really good example of something where it gives you a bunch of data, and most of the storytelling is actually offloaded onto the player, where the player kind of understands someone's personality and makes logical leaps based on that maybe an algorithm wouldn't. The relationships between characters can be really important, and the development of that personality is impacted by the people around them. And I can't think of many other games where anyone's even thinking about that from a system design set point of view, or even a writing point of view, to be honest. The number of people who will talk at length about how well a character is written, but then never actually talk about, well, what are the elements of gameplay that contribute to that personality or to that relationship? That's what I'm curious about.
So this was something else on your list that is sort of a pet topic of mine, and we should stay in touch because there's something sort of secret-y I am planning to do next year.
All right.
If I... which I actually think you may find to be pretty interesting.
I bet.
Some more collaboration between creators.
Yeah.
I think it's worth talking about. Maybe you can shed light on. Maybe Twine is a way of fixing this or starting to fix this. But why are video games not a writerly format or a format that seems to be friendly to including more writers?
Oh yeah, Twine is a great tool for that. I'm a big champion of Twine for sure.
Yeah, but I always hear Twine discussed as a separate thing, because it doesn't have graphics, it doesn't have. It's almost like you need to be predisposed to be okay, well, I think reading is fun, and most, you know what I mean? It's it's a different audience subset.
I mean, I think part of the problem actually, part of the root of the problem is that you, in the Maslowian pyramid of game development, writers are kind of towards the top. You absolutely must have programmers to make a game that will make any money.
Yeah.
And then you probably almost certainly need an artist. And then if you're lucky, you'll have a designer and or a project manager. And then, and you start looking at how many hours in every game is spent, programming or art creation or designing or project managing. Then you look at writing, and it's wow, well, I mean, Moon Hunters, we're going to have a lot of text in it, and we'll need a lot of writing, but
yeah,
it's still the lowest amount of human hours put in compared to all the other professions that are represented, and it's a really hard job to also just put in a few hours here and there and be spread across 80 different projects. We are going to be almost certainly contracting an external writer to come help us get all the content that we need. And we're hoping that we'll be able to get Jill Murray, who's an award-winning writer from Ubisoft, who was at Ubisoft. But even then, let's say we could have gotten her from the beginning, getting her for an hour here, an hour there, which is really all we needed at the beginning. She has, 1,000 other things, and I don't know, I think it's one of the hardest jobs to multitask. Because you have to be in the universe and breathing it, and it is such a different kind of writing than all the other types.
Unrelatedly, and I think I don't want to come in and assume I know what you're looking for, but A, I have plenty of people I could funnel your way, and B, I would highly recommend you look at playwrights.
Yeah, she's also a playwright. Like that's her background, and she does classes at the theater school and stuff.
Like there's a, and I'm really tickled that you mentioned Maslow's hierarchy. I tweeted something the other day. So I go on Steam like every Friday, and I just take a look, at like what's popular, what's coming out, and I took a screen grab of a review for a game, which you'll probably be able to guess, but this is just the lead review from whoever curated this game being at the frontmost page when you search for this type of game. So I'm quoting to you here: parkour and stabbing people, and great combination to make a game quote unquote fun. Also a storyline.
Oh goodness.
And so my tweet was just that, and just Maslow's hierarchy of games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as long as it's got stabbing up front.
I mean,
but it's the same thing, right? Like, no one wants to be first, and so it becomes this echo chamber.
Yeah.
It depresses me,
Yeah, I mean, I think there are games with lovely writing out there.
Of course.
But the problem is almost like when someone does a good job of audio but doesn't do anything, like, new with audio, nobody notices.
Right.
Like, I mean, I guess a few audio designers will be like, oh, hey, that game had really good audio, but everyone else is like, sounds like a game. It's the same with, like, a good job writing. Like, if nothing innovative is done, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, that was a good game. And, like, the writers will be like, it's really well written, and everyone's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation I am well equipped to have. But I think that's true of anyone trying to create, these days, which is like, we already talked about it, like, or maybe not. I can't remember if you answered, like how do you feel games are being devalued? Did I ask you that?
No, you mentioned that you felt they were being devalued. And
I stated
that we might be able to argue about that a little bit.
Okay, well, let's argue. I've had a lovely conversation with you so far. Let's argue.
I mean, I know that a lot of people are really worried about Steam sales and bundles and things, but honestly, more money is being spent on games than ever before. And even if one individual game, maybe the average amount being spent per game is lower, I think more and more people are able to enjoy games because that price threshold is much more like a cup of coffee, and whereas it used to be, like a lavish meal, or like a, I don't know, prom night meal. I don't know, it's now something, and I feel a little bit like some of the people, I'm not accusing you or anything, but some of the people
what did I do?
who are afraid of lowering prices, it's almost like a classist, like, these used to be worth something back when most people couldn't buy them.
Well, but you're presupposing that my argument is founded on the price. It actually isn't.
True. Okay, what's your
Oh, no, you're fine. But I will posit also that the same people you're talking about who will talk about the price, like, very frequently I feel like you'll see people gripe about, what was that game? Shoot. There was a game where people griped about the 99-cent DLC. Yeah. Which could have been any number of games at this point.
Yeah.
Like, those are the same people who will be like, $1, and then they'll go to Starbucks, which I think they have up your way, and they'll buy a $4 or $5 latte. Yep. To me, it's the sheer fire hose of stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, there's more and more games, that's for sure.
To me, it's not so much the price. The price is fine, and I certainly am not one to gripe. I am in the media. People send me vouchers all the time. I try to buy stuff as much as I can. I love games. I want to support people who make stuff. I'm a writer. I get it. But I do worry, which sounds like such a jerky thing to say, I worry there's too much stuff. I mean, it's a byproduct of the tools of production being so readily available, and there's so few barriers to entry. It's just
But I mean,
so
I feel
much
like
stuff.
it's great. I mean, it's terrifying because I'm trying to make a living in that market. That's
Yeah.
a fire hose of stuff. But I mean, I almost feel like writing is an art form that everyone thinks they can do, and most people can't. Or they can, but not very well, and then a few people are really, really good at it, and of those people, only a few make a living at it. And it'll be sad if games go that way, especially because they require such a collaboration. I don't think they will, but
those people, yeah. I mean, those people. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I think that it's only good for games that more and more people can get their first taste as a creator without needing to be part of a 100-person team.
Sure.
Where, it used to be, you had to either be able to program your own game in C or C++ or whatever, or else you had to join a 100-person team, and that was kind of it. Or you could make an Unreal mod, and that was cool, but it also wasn't really the same as making a game from scratch.
Right. I mean, I think, so there's a couple things going on here. One is, I feel like mods are sort of dying away, or at least I've talked to some people who feel that way for this project. I don't know for sure myself. I feel like we do see fewer of them. Like there was a Proteus mod a while back. Certainly, bigger games are harder to mod just by virtue of how colossal they are and how proprietary they need to be. As far as writing, like the thing you're talking about, like most people confuse writing with typing.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, what do you think most people, we started this way, what do you think? You said most people imagine game design to be just thinking of ideas. What do you think, like, how is game creation being confused by...
Oh, most people think game creation is programming, for sure.
So what is it? And I guess I'm asking for my own sake and also people reading. Because I wouldn't even presuppose to tell you like what it is. To me, it's magic. Is what it is.
All creation is magic.
But I would never say, oh, it's just typing.
No, I mean it's logically thinking about a player experience. That's what I think game creation is. And like, I don't know, as the co-director of Pixels, I've helped dozens of women make their first game. And I've kind of watched this process where they originally think that they have to be a programmer. And we tell them that no, you don't. But you do have to think logically, and you do have to imagine what the player will be doing at any one moment. And that's kind of the key, is to get people thinking about that one moment. Because in that moment, they're thinking like a designer, but they're thinking in a way that will let them then implement that behavior that the game needs to do. And whether you're working in Twine or you're working in, Unreal or whatever, the real building blocks of a game are imagining what the player does at any given moment.